No, sheriff's office.
Jail?
No.
No. Would you do that?
Oh, yeah.
So, trying to remember, she was Leslie.
Yeah. So, yeah, Leslie, because I got hired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but then Bellows took over.
His name is, stuff like down south.
He was sheriff of fire.
No, yours are never boring. Are you kidding? Yours are the best. I live in East Oakland. Over at Poplar. 9 o'clock, so we're up there. Yeah. So I always get like. Good point, because they gotta get approved. Good. Yeah, all right.
All right, we'll get started if you guys are ready. And I think what I said before too, we're gonna play a couple videos, so those videos will be up on the screen. And then if you want them afterwards, we should be able to provide them to you. And then also, there are 2 vehicles parked outside that I think you're gonna wanna take pictures of when we're done here. So with that, I'll get started. First off, I would like to thank our detectives for all their hard work. These operations are never easy, and they put in a lot of time. So the people who helped us out with the specific operation was Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, Airport Police Department, Eden Prairie Police Department, and Richfield Police Department, and the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. And they all do a very good job at helping out with these operations. But before we get started, I'm going to talk about one case from one of our previous operations, and this will all tie into what I'm going to say today. So, Mr. Michael Gillis here, I said he was a sexual predator. So back in August, when we did our last operation, he said that he wanted to stick his tongue in the butt of a 15-year-old kid. We arrested him. Then he went to Florida in October and did the same thing. So I'm going to play this video up here, Grant, if you can get ready. He went to Polk County, Florida, where Sheriff Judd is the sheriff. And unfortunately for him that day, Chris Hansen happened to be there. So, Grant, you want to roll that video real quick?
After blaming everyone but himself, not only does Michael lie about his name and his age, but he also lies about his past offenses that happened just a couple of months ago. we learn that Michael is out on bond after allegedly committing a very similar crime. He was arrested by the Bloomington, Minnesota Police Department for engaging in electronic communication relating or describing sexual conduct with a child and solicitation of a child to commit a sexual offense. And now, here in Polk County, Michael is charged with 4 felonies and 2 misdemeanors. Lewd and lascivious conduct, misrepresentation of age after using a computer to solicit a minor, traveling to meet after using a computer, unlawful use of a two-way communication device, providing false information to law enforcement during an investigation, and resisting officers. We'll keep you posted on the cases against him.
So, Mr. Gillis here, who I call the Predator, when he came to our operation, he had brought his own vehicle to get the 15-year-old. When he went to Florida, he got smarter, and he caught an Uber there to drive him around, and then they caught him. He came back to Minnesota, and there's a criminal complaint out there that you'll see, where on March 2nd, he took had an Uber bring a 15-year-old child to his house, and then he sexually assaulted him. Then he posted bail to get out of jail. At that point, I started to engage with our federal partners because, quite frankly, locally here, we got some things we got to work out here locally. We started to engage with our federal partners to make sure that, in certain instances, that we can start to send some of these cases federal. And Mr. Gillis's case was a case that was being looked at, and obviously Friday they announced that he was going to get charged federally. I'm just going to come out and tell you right now, there's some other people in this operation that we're also turning over to look at to get prosecuted federally also. It's just one of these things where we cannot have people like the Predator, Mr. Gillis, getting out of jail. I don't know how this guy gets out of jail as much time as he has here. And he actually followed through and raped a 15-year-old boy. This should have never have occurred. All right, so the operation that I'm going to talk about today took place starting on March 12th. It's an operation where we were running, trying to get adults who were looking to have sexual activity with our kids, minors, whatever term you choose to use. During these operations, our goal is to, 1, catch some of these folks. 2 is to try to provide services to people who are being sex trafficked. And we use the term provide services, and we were told that the term rescue was not appropriate because some of them may not feel at the time that they're being rescued, but provide services. This operation, we were successful at providing services to 3 people. We also, one of the goals of the operation is also to try to get the traffickers identified and arrested. So the operation here, you can see how many of these folks got arrested. And the title of this operation I dubbed is I Can't Help Myself. So there's a song by the Four Tops that goes, I can't help myself. I know I'm terrible, right? My car karaoke is terrible. But I'm going to add another line to that. You're going to see why I say the title of this operation is I Can't Help Myself. So the first one I'm going to talk about here is Jorge. Jorge here, in his chat, he said, I don't know what you look like, nor do I know you are a minor. I'm scared. He should have followed his advice. Then the decoy told him that she was 17 and didn't want him to be upset. He said, okay, give me the address, on my way. Well, he couldn't help himself, or he wouldn't have showed up, and we locked him up too. He was also, we believe, taken into ICE custody, and we don't know where he's at right now. Next one was Mr. Venkat. I think that's how you say his name. And he also couldn't help himself. He was advised that the decoy was 17 years old, and he said, oh, seriously? I'm excited to see you then. Well, we were excited to see him too, and we locked him up. He is here on a student visa, so I'm pretty sure at some point INS may be contacting him. Next, Mr. McClory. He also was asked, he said, wish, in his chat, he said, wish you would have said you were 18 after the decoy told him she was 17. He then requested another photo, and then after he got the photo, he said, and I'm not going to say the word, F it, here I come. He couldn't help himself either. He is a grocery store worker, and maybe he needs to learn how to stock some stuff up on these shelves as opposed to coming to my city trying to mess with some little girls. And almost forgot, sorry, he wanted to give the little girl some cocaine, some crack. Come on, man. Where we do that at? Next, Vicente. Vicente also was said, when the girl told him that she was 17, he said, I don't want you to be a minor. I could get in trouble. Well, he couldn't help himself either. A short time later, he arrived and we locked him up. And I think he may be dealing with some ICE officials also. Next, Mohammed. When he was told several times that the decoy was 17 years old, he persisted to ask the decoy how she could make him climax. Well, the only climax he got was coming to the Bloomington jail. We locked him up too. Next, here is Mr. Barclay, who is a on again, off again semi-pro soccer player. He went on to say he kept asking for some nasty sexual stuff that I'm not going to get into. But when he was told that the decoy was 17, he said, send me a photo and that's fine with me. And he said an extra $20 for an additional sex act that I'm not going to get into. And then he couldn't help himself. He decided to show up. Well, I guess that's why he's semi-pro and not pro, because if you're pro, you should know not to come to Bloomington and mess with little girls. Next, Adam, when he was told that the girl was 17, he said that might be a little too risky. Are you in Bloomington? Well, that should be a clue right there for you, man, that you don't want to come here and do this. He said he didn't see a girl on here that young before. He didn't want to be in a sting. And he questioned if this was seriously legit or not. Well, he couldn't help himself either. He showed up and he's in excavation. Well, I wonder how he's going to dig himself out of this hole. Don't come to my city messing with some of these young girls, man. Next, Anthony. Ooh, boy, Anthony. Anthony, man. Well, he asked the decoy how old they were. They said 17. He said, oh my God. So a minor. Yes. And he said a teenager. Okay. Should be a clue, Anthony. Anthony goes on to, I can't say that. Yeah, he talked about, yeah, I can't say that. I can't say that either. He said he hopes it's true that she's not a cop, and he was so nervous. Well, he couldn't help himself either. And he came over and we locked him up, and he's a concrete worker. Well, he's got some pretty hard shoes to get out of now after he came here. Alex. He was told that the girl was 17. He decided that he was going to come too. He couldn't help himself, so when he showed up, we locked him up. He also had $2,600 in currency, and I think some ICE officials may be speaking with him also. Next, David. David. Yeah, I can't say that either. So he had agreed to have sex with a 17-year-old girl. He proceeded to send a picture of himself with his pants off, standing in front of a mirror, and we need to pay our detectives extra money for having to look at that. But we locked him up too. He's grown, he should know better, and he's a landscaper. Next, Justin. I think everybody knows about Justin. here, so I'm not going to get into that too much, other than to say that, as everybody knows right now, he is under federal prosecution. And I'm going to say one thing that Justin said that you might not know. The decoy had told him that they live with their aunt and that their aunt was gone till next week. And then Justin had asked if he could have sex in his car. Well, because he asked that, and he came here trying to have sex with a child, you will notice a nice white Toyota outside with the Bloomington Police logo on it, because we're forfeiting his vehicle administratively because he wanted to come here and commit a felony. Next, Mr. Jefferson. He also wanted to come mess with a 17-year-old girl. He knew she was 17 and he came, so we also locked him up. So don't come to my city trying to mess with 17-year-old girls. Next. Oh man, I can't even say half the stuff this guy said. Scott. Man, yeah, I can't say that. Oh, okay. So Scott, the undercover, said that she was 17 and she just wanted to be up front. And Scott said, I guess I could get in a lot of trouble. I appreciate you for telling me. I'm a little nervous, but also excited. Well, as old as you are, man, you should know better. So he couldn't help himself. He showed up, so we locked him up too. Next. This guy's a piece of work. Marwin. So Marwin, when the decoy told him that they were 17, he said, I'm sorry, no can do. Thanks for being honest. And then he left the conversation. Well, he couldn't help himself. So 4 minutes later, he re-engages. And then he decides that he's going to meet the decoy. So when he shows up, we get him in this parking lot. And Grant, I want you to show this picture here of the retaining wall. You see how big that retaining wall is? We'll get you a picture of that. So we get him in this parking lot. And Grant, you want to show the video here? He decides that, well, hold on, wait before you, yep. So, Grant, can we see that retaining wall picture again, man, please? Thank you. This is the wall that he drove off, trying to get away. And he was listening to Puff Daddy, I guess, saying, can't stop, won't stop, can't stop, won't stop. Grant, can you play that, the video of him running? So we pursue him here. If you watch how fast he's going, you notice the car's on 494. He's passing them and we're pursuing him here. We eventually get him into custody and we lock him up. And if you notice outside, that same pickup truck is sitting outside with the Bloomington Police badge on the side because we forfeited that. The other part of Puff Daddy, can't stop, won't stop. And then I'm going to go into the, take that, yep, these orange jumpsuit pants. Take that, take that. Take that. And take these. We locked him up. And the thing about him is he's already a convicted sex offender with a 15-year-old girl. So that concludes this. Again, I just want to say that we're still working with our federal partners on some of these cases because quite frankly, just locally, we cannot have these people getting out of jail and continuing to repeat these same crimes. So with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
Chief Hodges, there's new details on the Eichorn case that he tried to send somebody to his apartment in St. Paul to pick up a laptop before the FBI could search it. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I'll say like Gillis here, a lot of these people, unfortunately, a lot of these predators, they got people who help them. They got some people out there who help them. And I'm really not going to get into the rest of the federal investigation because they took it from us. But it's the minute you understand, you have to quit. And I don't understand how someone helps these folks.
To be clear on those trucks out front, those
Yep.
are now, that one of those at least belonged to Justin Eichorn and is now possessed by the department.
Yes.
Being used by the department.
No, we intend to forfeit both of those cars out there. The Toyota out there, which was driven by Justin Eichorn, and the GMC pickup that the other sex offender decided to run from us in down the embankment.
Chief, a couple questions. Why, and they kind of go hand in hand, but what is it about, I guess, Bloomington, right? And that you think, I mean, that, how has this become like a hub, if you will? Why are you able to catch so many here in Bloomington?
Well, Bloomington, we got 50 hotels, 10,000 hotel rooms, right? So we got more hotel rooms than anyone in the state. We have the airport here. But I also think it's, for us in this 494 corridor, we're just not going to tolerate this, man. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's about victims. So they be in distress. If you see something that you think is suspicious, don't hesitate to report it, right? And we all have to be vigilant in this, if that makes sense. Okay.
So Justin Eichorn was caught this time because it was a decoy, but do you know if he actually has followed through with this type of stuff before?
I'm not sure. Like, we don't have that detail right now, and I think, in terms of once the federal government took it, they're going to look at all of his phones. But the only time we caught him here was in Bloomington. But I will say that the language that he used is indicative of someone who this is not their first time.
Could you talk a little bit on the topic of Eichorn about, when your officers recognize, first off, did your officers seek out, or just kind of stumble upon him by chance as sort of a high-profile individual? And then once you recognize that this individual might be a high-profile individual, is there anything that changes in the process of apprehending him?
Yeah, so let me address this first. So we had no idea who he was, right? He used a device that, we couldn't tell who he was. As a matter of fact, there was a group of us who traveled to San Diego to go to the U.S. border on Tuesday, and one of the law enforcement sources asked me, do you know you got a state senator in your jail? And I said, no. And I called the jail. They didn't even know who Justin was. So, I mean, we had no idea who he was. And one of the things that our detectives have really gotten good at now is a lot of times these folks would get booked and released, like charged and released from the scene. Now we start holding them overnight. So when someone starts looking for them, they can't go home and just say, oh, I got caught in traffic or something. But yeah, we had no idea who he was.
How much does having somebody that high profile help your effort just to sort of get the word out that you know this is going on and you're watching for it and don't, a couple of times mentioned don't come to your city and all that kind of stuff?
I don't look at it like someone's position. For me, it's always going to be about victims, right? And I don't think the victim cares what position you have in society. That's the way I look at it. And, we do these all the time, as you guys know, here in this city, but I don't give a crap what occupation you have. If you come here and mess with kids, you're going to jail. But, this is really, this is unfortunate, right? Because I do believe most members of our legislature are good folks, and anytime something happens like this, it just tends to tarnish that a little bit.
Another follow-up on the truck. So does this mean that they're going to get sold and then the county gets, or the city gets the money kind of from the, or what is
Yeah,
it?
so when you forfeit vehicles, you can either sell them or you can put them in your fleet and use them, right? So, I mean, that'd be a good truck to, for some more of these operations or to catch speeders. I don't know what we're going to do with it yet, but that determination will be made later date. Yes, sir.
Majority, some of them, repeat offenders?
There's only right now and this is why it took a little bit to get this together. Right now, the only person that we know of that is a repeat offender that we caught was the last guy, Marwin. He was the only repeat offender that we know.
Could you talk a little bit about, just broadly, you have some of these repeat offenders, but when you're able to do these sting operations, these are quote-unquote victimless crimes. I mean, you guys are able to do this without having to have somebody at risk as a victim to these. I mean, how important is it to be able to do that with that?
Yeah, to not have someone get victimized is very important, right? And I'll talk about, again, I want people to be clear, right? If any of these guys, when they showed up, if that girl would have been 15, 16, 17, there's nothing that would have stopped them from doing what they said they wanted to do in their text messages. And Mr. Gillis here is a prime example of that. So whenever we could do to not put people's victims at risk, we're going to do. But I'm not going to get in all to like how we go about catching some of these folks. But yeah, we're going to do what we need to do to mitigate people getting victimized.
Can you talk about how Mr. Gillis relates to these other four?
Yeah. So Gillis got caught up when we did this in August. And Gillis, the fact that he was able to get out of jail spurned us reaching out to our federal partners. Similar to like what Minneapolis has done with the gun violence piece, we're looking at engaging our federal partners on this piece because we can't have this. We can't.
Are you able to say where these other people are from? I mean, are they local? Are they traveling in from out of state?
We can get that to you. I think most of them are Minnesota, Wisconsin. I don't have the individual list for each individual, but I think they're all Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Is there any work that goes on in partnership with other agencies when they're from a different place, say Grand Rapids, for instance?
Yeah, I think our folks reach out, and then we do a pretty good job of talking to each other in law enforcement most times. It's not perfect, but yeah, most times.
Great to see that Eichorn mug again.
He's got 14 of these guys in here, man. He's just one of them. Here you go.
Of this group, is Eichorn the only one that's going federal so far? The new group here?
I'm going to let the federal folks talk about those.
Are the rest of these folks still in jail?
I think they're all out, with the exception of Marwin. Marwin, I think he's still in jail.
Was it the nature of the probable cause you guys had on Eichorn that caused his charges to go federal and caused him still in custody, or is it the profile?
Well, I think, for the federal government, and I'm not going to speak for them, but, one of their things that they do is public corruption. So I'm going to assume that that's why they wanted to come look at this case. But I want to reiterate, prior to him getting arrested, we were already in talks with them to take some of these cases federal, starting with Mr. Gillis here. So, any other questions?
Chief, you mentioned that a few of them, one was on a student visa, there was another, I think, other immigration status. Have you reached out to the Trump administration?
No, we haven't. And, I think, immigration, that'd be a whole nother venue here for people to talk about. But, we don't reach out. But with the whole of government approach, we don't have to reach out anymore, right? And I think that that's something that's not been covered, and I'm not going to get into. But with the whole of government approach, local law enforcement doesn't have to reach out to the federal folks.
You said the last one before this operation was when?
The last minors one I think we did was that August of 24, and that was when Gillis got caught.
And so, why, I guess, you mentioned how there's 50,000 hotel rooms in Bloomington. Why so much time in between, and do you wait for, I guess, one arrest and to then say, hey, I think we have a whole thing here, how much time until the next one?
Yeah, so these are very labor intensive to do. So that's why we schedule them out, and they're done at different times on the 494 corridor. Just other agencies tend to send press releases where we come out and put out pictures and stuff.
When you hand these over to, or I guess when you don't hand them over, but ICE takes over on some of these, immigration takes over, I mean, is that something you prefer, some of these cases, they take their hands onto, or would you prefer that be prosecuted on the state level here, locally? You guys are able to put due process in here in Minnesota.
I don't care what happens as long as they're not able to victimize folks. That's where I'm at right now, because we can't have this happen.
Do most of them end up getting no prison time when it goes through the state?
Yes. And they get smarter, and that's why I talked about Gillis. They get smarter and learn how to avoid getting caught. And in the coming months, we'll have some additional announcements from the police department in terms of how we're going to start reallocating some resources to really dig in here, because this is an area where I think as a society and law enforcement, we're getting our hats handed to us, quite frankly. Thank you. I'll go enjoy the sun today.